What are sinking funds? Are they important? Are they about sinks, quicksand, the Titanic? Today, we will find out. I'm Curtis.
And I'm Megan.
I'm Rachel.
We're from Canopy Credit Union, and this is the How Can We podcast. Okay, Rachel, what are sinking funds? What's the definition of them?
Well, our friends at Google search say that a sinking fund is a strategic savings approach where you set aside a small amount of money each month for a specific purpose. So you're sinking that money into one account, saving it, then you can pull it up out of the water when that time comes to pay that bill or to have that expense come up.
So in theory, we could have an annual purchase that we just make once, but we're going to pretend we pay it monthly and set money aside for it each month.
That's important to know. And I think we talk a lot about emergency funds and how important it is to have an emergency fund. But sometimes if we have the appropriate sinking funds, say, for example, for car repairs, that's an emergency that we know is bound to happen during the life of car ownership. So if we had a specific fund set aside and we know, okay, I'm sure in X amount of months or X amount of years, this expense is going to come up. What do I need to be doing now? How frequently do I need to be doing that? So that's not a surprise and not an emergency when it comes.
You're prepared for it when it does come.
Exactly.
Potentially don't have to go into debt then when X, Y, or Z happens.
And let's not forget about the fun sinking funds, like vacations, holidays, all of that.
Yeah, so practically what that could look like is January 2024, it's a new year. I say, okay, I know I'm going to pay my car insurance in one big lump sum at the end of the year. So I'm going to build into my budget for the next 11 months, I guess it would be, to set aside money in a specific account, mostly just like earmarking it so that I know later that that money is going to be untouched. I need it so I don't come December 2024 and realize, oh, I have this big, huge bill. Darn it. I've mentally put it in that category, or I use my budget sheet to make sure it's there and it's all saved up. But yeah, I like the fun ones. The fun ones are more fun to talk about than car insurance.
That's typically how a lot of their home loans are built now too, where your property taxes are, even though you're paying them once a year, they're actually going to collect that funding from you monthly, and then whoever holds the loan will pay that once a year for you.
Exactly. The bank or credit union that you have your mortgage with is essentially just doing this for you. And so if you can learn to do it yourself, you now have the power for those expenses that you know are every year. The holidays is a perfect example. It comes every year. November comes around and we're like, oh, I probably should have saved more.
Totally.
What if we had a tool to do that automatically?
Well, at Canopy, we do talk about some special accounts that we have that kind of does this. You want to chime in on
that's right. Our
those?
club accounts.
We do have our club accounts.
Would you tell us more about that, Rachel?
Yeah, so our club accounts, we have a summer holiday account, and then we have, it's just called a holiday account, right? And so we have these two accounts, and you can use them to put an automatic savings throughout the year so that you come ready for the holiday season. I believe those accounts the money becomes available in
6 months.
In 6 months, yeah. So it's locked away, so that's kind of nice. You can't even touch it. Like you're saving, you're not going to be tempted to be like, oh, but if only. Nope, it's saved, it's put away there. And then the summer one's also fantastic. When it comes right around before summertime, those accounts that money becomes available for you, and you're able to access it.
Yeah, you're wrapping up school and maybe ready for summer vacation and take a trip.
And they have an interest rate, which is fantastic. So it's putting your money to work while you're saving it too.
Exactly. And you can set any amount, I believe, up to $500 a month. So whatever you think, oh, okay, this year I know I spent, say you spent $600 on presents for the holidays. So you can make a reasonable estimate that that's probably what you'll spend again next year. So let's take that, divide it by 12, and set up your sinking fund for that amount every month.
Yeah, so sinking funds, they're a lot more fun than they sound.
They can be, yeah.
I think also, like, people might do this more and they just don't know that terminology. Like, Curtis, you were mentioning that you have different kinds of, like, emergency funds. Would you classify any of those as actually being more of a sinking fund versus an emergency fund?
Yeah, I think that sinking funds can be looked at as either that as a holistic terminology, or you can break it down into your separate emergency funds and vacation funds you have. Those are really just sinking funds if you are putting funding into those on a monthly basis. But yeah, I have several different emergency funds, and one specifically for when I get hurt, because I know this is going to happen sooner or later, and I'm pretty clumsy. So it's actually called the Curtis Clumsy account.
There you go.
It pays off more often than it doesn't.
I love that. And that's fun to be able to have a name to it. It's who you are. Your money should reflect who you are. And so having sinking funds that reflect your lifestyle, saving up for that vacation, the holidays, what's important to you and what matters, that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I
And
love
those
that.
long-term goals. I mean, hello, parent here. So I have a couple of sinking funds that don't have much in them now, but one is called the Children's Wedding Fund and the Children's First Car Fund. And that's a long ways from now, thank goodness. But better to get started now.
For sure.
That's brilliant. Wow.
They will be thankful for that someday.
Yeah.
We'll see. TBD.
Parents everywhere. Alert, alert. Start saving now. Honestly, everyone, it's a great tool. And when it's a small chunk each month, it's not that big of a deal. Let's give a practical example here.
Yes. I mean, I'll give an example of the Curtis Clumsia Fund. So I put $20 in that a month, and once a year, I will probably need stitches of some form, and then it pays off when that bill comes, because then I can just pull from that fund, and I know I'm not hopefully going to need it every month, but when I do need it, and if I go a year without needing it, that's a huge reason to celebrate, but then also it just gets bigger, which means I can climb up higher on the ladder if needed.
Literally cushions the blow.
Yes.
So if you are interested, friends, listeners out there, about learning more about Canopy's Summer Club and then our Holiday Club accounts, you can log on to canopycu.com/savings-account to learn more, see those accounts, learn more about how they work, and be able to set up your own.
Thank you for listening to the How Can We podcast from Canopy Credit Union. Tune in next time for more actionable tips and takeaways that will help you reach your financial goals. And if you want personalized, free one-on-one help with whatever your money situations happen to be, sign up for free financial coaching at canopycu.com/coach.